Feel right at home.
He likes to make people feel welcome.
Aw, you guys always make me feel welcome. I like being here.
I try to make people feel uncomfortable.
That's fine. There's a little bit of that too.
My hand ends up on your knee. You know why?
That's what the mood lighting is for.
Put that mood lighting on.
This week we discuss Illinois Craft Beer Week 2024 with Ray Stout. This is episode 136 of the Malting Hour.
What's the haps on the hops? Got yeast, that's beast. This the Malting Hour where we talk about our drink and tell you what we think every other week. And if we get drunk, well, we might slur our speech. Got the gift of gab, the friends you wish you had. Join us for a drink, join us for a laugh. Time is never wasted, where you getting wasted. The Malting Hour here, people take your places. People take your places. People take your home.
Welcome to the Malting Hour. I am one of your hosts, Tony Go, joined always with
Brandon Whittinger.
And returning for his
Fourth time. Fourth time.
Oh, yeah, we did it after the final pour as well. That's right. This is your fourth time.
Ray Stout.
Ray, welcome back, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Of course. Welcome anytime, man. I know we talked, I think we said sometime, like, yeah, we should come back and just do just a regular beer episode. Like, that'd be great. And here we are, not doing a regular beer episode.
We could talk about beer, though.
No, of course.
I mean, we're here to talk about beer.
I mean, we are, but not, like, oh, hey, what I'm saying is you're here because we're going to discuss Illinois Craft Beer Week 2024. We're super excited. Insert applause.
It's earlier this year than it was last year.
Yeah, so we are at the whim of booking Union Station, right? And so that's a pretty coveted spot. And so, we always want to kick it off with beer under glass. Last year, remember, we closed with beer under glass. So this year, it feels better as a kickoff to the week. And so, this was one of the few dates that we were able to lock down at Union Station. So we're super excited to do it a little earlier.
It's usually... In previous years, it's been the kickoff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's always been up until last time. But again, Union Station. The thing why I really like this
Union Station.
this date is it really is the kickoff to kind of beer drinking weather for the general populace, not people like us, but for the people who like to drink outside in the warm weather.
Yeah, and I'm totally on board with it being right at the beginning of May.
Me too.
Because it's literally when shit happens.
That's right.
It's before
weather gets nice. I mean, we've been lucky. Weather has been pretty good the last couple days here. Yeah. Hopefully we keep this trend going. But yeah, having it.
My allergies are saying yes.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. May 3rd, boom, right at the beginning of the month.
Right before Star Wars Day. I mean.
Yeah.
Ooh. I like that.
In case any breweries are listening,
get all the fathers out drinking before Mother's Day. Do all that stuff.
That's absolutely right.
See, we're thinking.
There was no thought about that in there. It was. Now we know it's just controlled by when can they get a date
by the master calendar of Union Station.
I'm assuming they probably have that available to you guys.
Just book your next 12 events in advance. Be like, hey.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I'm assuming they have a calendar at a certain amount of time.
People are booked out for years, between, showcases and weddings and everything that happens in that room.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of blown away, what kind of events they have at Union Station. Because that's a massive hall.
You should have your birthday there.
Dude.
You can invite 6,000 people.
Yeah. Is that the limit?
Yeah, that's the capacity.
That's crazy.
We can make that happen.
Well, and it's funny because we went over Christmas. We went to do. They do this Polar Express thing. So we did the Polar Express train. Took the kid, and my in-laws were there. And we're walking through Union Station, and everyone's like, "Where's the bathrooms?" I'm like, "I know, let's go." And I was dragging Benjamin around to the bathrooms, but it was it's crazy to see it. Because I don't go to Union Station much. I've never ridden an Amtrak.
You're missing out, man.
I've ridden. We've taken the metro. We take the metro to the beer under glass. But there's benches out and everything like that, and it's just so crowded. But I'm none of these people were there to see the Polar Express thing, and here's all these nerdy people crowding into this one room. I think that's the room that they had that sweet ass bacon in.
Oh yeah.
That place was awesome.
Some more of that.
But yeah, I mean, it's such a unique and cool venue, and then I will say dude, I loved the conservatory, but it's so different, and it's so much. I think it's so much more accessible, and such a unique experience, because there's people that, there's a lot of people that don't take those trains, and like just going into that space is super cool.
Yeah, there's a piece of nostalgia associated with it, right? It's a grand hall, and if you haven't been there, it's this massive, glassed ceiling room that's, as cavernous as 2 football fields, right? And so accessibility is always paramount when it comes to these events, because it seems to be an afterthought with a lot of alcohol-based events, is how people are going to get there and how people are going to get home. And so doing it at Union Station is a way that we can ensure that, everybody gets there and is able to have as good of a time as they want and get home safely, right?
We have thoroughly enjoyed ourselves each year going to the Union Station, doing this, and taking the Amtrak right back, literally walking distance from where we are right now.
Yeah, and like I think we plan it appropriately.
And we'll never tell you where we're at.
Because we leave before the event is over, so that way we get on a train that's not overcrowded, and then it's like a smooth ride back.
We also... Thank you, Ray. Very nice of you. We also get to go a little bit early. So we get in early, which is, if you guys haven't gotten your tickets, you should probably do it. It's a lot of fun. Be there an hour early.
So what are the tickets like for the event?
So, we host one large session, right?
Yeah.
So, the traditional sessions from 5:30 to 8:30. But you have the option to be a media personality like you two, or have the option to buy a VIP ticket, which gets you in an hour early. And so, we are seeing a lot of people taking advantage of that, just because it gives you, pretty much unmitigated access to over 100 breweries and 200 beers. So you have your, drink to your heart's content.
Yeah.
And take the train home.
So I do want to touch on the breweries that are there, but we are drinking a beer right now.
Oh, right.
And I'd like to touch on that. What are we drinking, Tony?
Grab it. Making another appearance, which is, we've been very lucky, is another Marz beer. This is the Dilliner Weiss, and I'm going to try and read this. Here we go. It's I already know what's in it. A Berliner Weiss with dill. I thought there was going to be more.
Is it all?
That's it. It's a Berliner Weiss with dills. It tastes like dill pickles. It's really good. It's 4.4% ABV. That was from when we did our Chicago on Tap episode.
Yeah, we didn't drink that though.
Correct. No, I'm saying that's what it's left over from.
No, Marz is putting out an array of beverage options, and so this is delightful. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we talked about right before we started recording. We talked about Marz. They make some THC options that go into like not beers, but like
THC beverages.
Yeah, THC beverages. And then I think you had some more information about that, like.
Yeah, so
you were talking about there's some legislation going on.
There's a couple pieces of legislation, one in the House, one in the Senate, to kind of figure out the rules. And so, the high level kind of 10,000 foot view of what this marketplace is that in the Farm Bill at the federal level, they basically said hemp is fine. Right? And so states should not pass laws to inhibit the use of hemp. It's an agricultural product. And so what people who are way smarter than me have figured out is that there is a way to super concentrate hemp, the plant hemp, and to extract THC at pretty high volumes from it. So, there's cannabis and then there's hemp. So we're only talking about hemp. And so, these emulsions and these extracts you see publicized as Delta 8 or Delta 9. And so, what breweries across the country are doing right now, because there is relatively little legislation around what you can do and what you can't, and nobody really knows the rules, is that they are putting these extracts, not in beer, but in other beverages. So you'll see seltzers, or you'll see sodas, or you'll see kind of other fruit waters. And, they passed legislation up in Minnesota, and there's been, almost $100 million in tax revenue from these beverages. You can now get a THC beverage brewed by a Minnesota brewer at a Minnesota Twins baseball game.
Wow.
Okay.
And so there is a massive opportunity for, craft brewers to hop on this, because there's nobody who I would want to make these beverages more than a small local craft brewery, because they're already charged with the manufacturing of a controlled substance, which is alcohol. They're already paying the proper taxes. They're already filling out the right reports. And, it's an opportunity for small businesses to kind of just add another product line to their category. And, what we're seeing is that, the people are still drinking beer at a pretty high level, but there is a subsection of the population that's not, right? Mm-hmm. And so, there are plenty of people that, especially in today's age, that say, hey, I don't drink alcohol, but I, smoke marijuana or I take edibles. And this is just a way for those people to come out to a brewery, still have a great time responsibly. And, go home with beverages that are, 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, 25 milligrams of THC. Ooh. And so Marz is doing it. Hopewell started doing it. Church Street is doing it. Okay. And there's about 20 or so other breweries in the pipeline. Noon Whistle is now doing it through Pause Plus is what they're calling it. So now there's about 20 other breweries in the pipeline in the state, mostly concentrated in the city, that are really kind of taking a hack at creating these beverages.
That's awesome. Tony, I remember back in the day, you had a friend that wanted you to make you a...
Yeah, no, all right, so I had, in home brewing, a friend of mine was like, can you make like a tincture of like THC? And he gave us like a bunch of like some weed and stems and everything. And we literally put vodka over this and let it sit for...
ever
a long time. It smelled really good. We made a beer, added it to it, bottled it, gave it to him. I said, how was it? And he goes, yeah, I'm not sure. I smoked weed before I had it. Defeated the purpose of what we did, but okay. And then it just sat in the basement. We ended up dumping it and didn't try it. So
yeah, maybe was there a keg of it? There was bottles. There was bottles of it.
There was like a 6-pack, and I think I drank one, but I don't. It was just we're just messing around. Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't think anything really came of it from the THC. So, but it did infuse the flavor into the beer, which was nice.
I think that's right. And so what's happening now is that nobody really knows what the rules are, right? Yeah. So brewers don't know what kind of tax to pay on this. They don't know who they could sell it to, where they could sell it, because they sell it for on-premise consumption or only off-premise consumption. And so like I said, there's 2 bills in the legislature. Hopefully, with some legs to provide guidance to this industry, because it's going to be hard to pull it back once it gets too big.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there'll be a lot of upset people.
Without a doubt.
So back to this beer. What's everyone feeling about this dill pickle beer?
I'm happy with I've had some dill or pickle type beers that just tasted like I was kind of drinking pickle brine, which is carbonate, which is fine, as like a sour beer. But this is nice. I think a Berliner Weiss with dill is a clever way to have like a quote unquote pickle.
I thought this was great.
Beer. Yeah, it's really it's refreshing. There's not too much dill. With it being a Berliner Weiss, it's not too sour. It's like just the perfect amount of tartness.
One of my sisters is like obsessed with pickles, and I think she would totally get behind this. And she's not a beer drinker; she's a Jameson drinker. I think if I gave her this, I'd give her anything pickle and she'll try it. So yeah, dude, it's very well done. There's a good balance between the beer and the dill, and it's smooth. So yeah, I'm not disappointed.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed about it, there's almost like a little bit of a spice to it.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking at the packaging, and there's like almost like cayenne peppers drawn onto it, and that makes a lot of sense, because that's that kind of the finish is a little spicy.
It's funny you said that, because when I took a sip, like I said, I'm dealing with the allergy stuff. When I took a sip, I wasn't sure. Like I finished it, I kind of I agree. Fuck my allergies. When I took the sip, I was like, oh, like it felt like something was spiced in the back. I'm like, that's probably just me, being sick. But yeah, that's the type of there are definitely pickles. You can make spicy dill pickles where you add the red cayenne peppers into the jar and everything, and it makes them really good. Really ups the flavor. But let's go back to Illinois Craft Beer Week.
Yeah.
I see you have a very nice some notes here. I want to make sure we hit on your notes.
No,
I want to hit on these.
So
you know?
I figured since I'm not on television, I could actually look at a piece of paper
Perfect.
and not do this extra.
No one's looking at us. I'll be judging you for how much you're reading from it, but that's it.
I can't wait till you guys start live streaming these things.
It'll be something.
It's gonna be something is right.
That is something Matthew has tried to get us to start doing. Matthew really wants to help us, and not that we don't want your help, Matthew. We're just lazy and haven't taken you up on that offer.
Yeah, I haven't done my hair, so yeah. One thing I do want to touch on Craft Beer Week is that there's this kind of tide in the craft beer scene right now where people are really starting to question, hey, are craft beer weeks still purposeful? Is there still a reason to have a craft beer week? And I think it's a really valid question, because when these things started 20 years ago, decade ago, it was about access, right? It was hard to find good craft beer, and this week was like supposed to showcase producers, the small number of producers that were doing it. And and so people are saying, hey, you can get great beer year round, why the heck do we need a week for it, right? And so while Craft Beer Week probably doesn't necessarily resonate as hard with some of the larger producers in Illinois who are really ingrained in the distribution of beer, for smaller local guys and girls and everybody in between, like it's a really important week. It offers visibility and exposure. It's a really great opportunity for craft brewers to work on their marketing and promotion, and it's not just necessarily with the craft brewers, because they're also engaging with other people in the community, whether it's retailers or bars, restaurants, bottle shops. This is an opportunity to build those kind of collaborative relationships, and and drive sales revenue. And so one thing that I do love about Craft Beer Week still, and specifically Bug, because it is an opportunity, and Bug's beer under glass. It's still an opportunity
If you guys haven't figured that out.
for brewers to kind of hang out together. And why I really love our events, not just because there are events, but they're really brewer focused and brewer centric. And at a lot of festivals, you'll just have like their marketing person or their intern pouring the beer. At Bug, quite more often than not, it is the brewer pouring the beer, just like and that's what we really love about it, because you could take that moment with them and talk through tasting notes or talk about where their tap room is or anything in between, and it's just such a really cool thing. And I think the last thing that I'll say about why craft beer weeks are super important is that it really just celebrates the culture that craft beer has fostered, especially in Chicago,
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I know it's Illinois Craft Beer Week, and there's great craft beer scenes. We're lucky enough to have it literally from north to south, east to west. But those 70 breweries in Chicago and those 160 breweries in Chicagoland have really built an industry that's almost unparalleled. Craft Beer and Brewing just named Chicago the best beer city in the country.
We did it.
I have a nice little trophy at home to prove it. Not that I contributed to in any way, right? But
I share this with all the breweries.
that's right. But celebrating that idea
Good
of
job,
culture
guys.
and camaraderie is like a key aspect that I don't think we celebrate enough as an industry, because everybody is busy running their business, and everybody is busy trying to keep their lights on, and it's a hard industry, and it's a hard industry for a variety of reasons. But taking a step back and being together and enjoying themselves at, like, I would say probably one of the best beer festivals in the United States, being Beer Under Glass, like, it's a great opportunity to celebrate that.
There's a couple things that you mentioned that I wanted to just kind of go back to. One of the things that Brandon and I, especially, showing up as, media people, or even if we're, there as media people, but also he and I clearly like going to Beer Fest. We went to Beer Fest before we started doing the podcast. I prefer being able to talk to brewers or people who are actually a part of production, or someone who is, even if they are like the marketing person, they have some type of knowledge of what they're doing, and it's not just come to our tap room, like, tell me about this beer, and they read the sign, which I get it. Not every brewery has a chance to, have people out there. They could be shorthanded or whatever, smaller place. But I do, and speaking for you, Brandon, we appreciate that. It definitely makes the experience more interesting. And you were also saying that with, the actual brewers being there and everybody, being around, everybody, like, we also get a chance to go back to where like the Brewers Lounge is, because that's where we're going to use the bathroom over there. It was very cool to find out the first year. We were like, that's where it's at for us. It's like it was Wayne's World with the backstage passes. And we did that. We did do that. But we saw a whole bunch of people that we've met over the years or we knew outside of the podcast, and it was nice to see them in their own comfortable element at a festival instead of seeing them while they're working and or when they're on the podcast.
I mean, without a doubt, and if you talk to anybody who's ever worked behind the bar at a craft beer brewery, the number one question they get is, what does it taste like? And having the chops to be able to explain that in a way that's digestible and true is really important. And I think that's one thing that this industry needs to do a better job of in trying to grasp this new wave of drinkers, these Gen Z drinkers that are coming online, is that they provide experiences for them that are kind of more Instagrammable and more holistic. Because what we're seeing now is people are choosing their alcohol beverage based on occasion, right? It's not necessarily, hey, I'm a beer drinker, I'm a wine drinker, I'm a whiskey drinker. It's like when you talk to people who are 21, 22, 23 years old, they're like, hey, well, I like to have, vodka when I'm pre-gaming, and then I like to have a couple of beers at the bar, and I like to have a glass of wine at dinner. And it's like, so it's very occasion driven. And so what the craft beer industry has been really working towards is, what are the occasions for craft beer besides all the time, right?
Yeah, it's like I wake up, I'm alive today. I'm having no joke.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that because like
terrible.
I have
don't wake up and drink everybody.
I have I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and a lot of them are of age at this point.
By the way, real quick, Ray just took a sip of what you poured for us. I think I've already figured out what it is and let him guess.
We'll do that. So, like, and it's funny because I've not known a lot of, like, young people to be into craft beer, but, like, my niece is dating a guy, and they came to Christmas, like, a year or two ago, and we got into this whole conversation about craft beer, and, like, and his best friend at the time was the brother, I guess, of... Jim from the now closed Aleman, and like he was just like, oh yeah, he was talking to me about beer and stuff like that, and like asking me questions. I'm like, I got some stuff on tap if you want to try it. And like he tried it, so, and he liked it. So that's, to me, is like a sign of like, there's younger, like, it's starting younger, I think, because people are like more.
It's more available and readily accessible. It's not something you necessarily have to like.
When we grew up, like when I was 21, there was no like if I went and sat in a bar, my options were Blue Moon and like something else. But like you go into a bar, and now there's brew pubs everywhere. Yeah. But like you go into a bar and they might still have Blue Moon, and Blue Moon is a terrific beer, but like they have they'll have Pipeworks, or they'll have like Half Acre, or whatever, like all
way
these,
bigger,
and
selection.
I always had this thought that like, oh, these young whippersnappers are not going to be trying.
Getting old,
but, like,
Brandon.
they are like. Well, I am getting old.
You used whippersnappers. I'm just going.
It goes back to what I said before, is what does it taste like, right? And so me being 21 years old, walking into a brewery and not really understanding, the scope of beer, I would see Weiss beer on the menu and be like, what the heck
what
is
does that mean? Yeah.
Right?
Or sour beer.
Or so,
freak me out.
And offering kind of an experience where people who are kind of getting into craft beer can go and try a lot of beer, like beer under glass in a really cool setting, is something that's so important to this industry, because it continues to build that pipeline of people who, start off as novices, but become kind of craft beer nerds like our brethren here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then when I look at that, like, so I was 21 in 2002, 3, something like that. Like, dude, there was no, like, I'll give them credit. Goose Island was around, and like that, the Clybourne location was there.
We were lucky in Chicago.
But like, I didn't really know about it. Like, I was oblivious to the fact that it was there, but there was no like, and I grew up in Lincoln Square. So now, if I was in that area, you've got Half Acre,
there's a lot over there.
Beguile, Dovetail.
Well, even just going to your local liquor store.
Yeah,
There's so many options.
there was nothing there. Like literally, it was like somebody gave me Blue Moon once, and I've talked about this before. I think one of the first craft beers I had, was like Blackout Stout, and I was like, holy shit! Like from Great Lakes, and I was like, this is game. And then from then it was just like, here comes the alcoholic, because I'm gonna go do everything. Because I did, dude. Like I was just like seeking out like stuff to drink, and it was like.
Yeah, I think...
I wish I never had that beer.
I'm glad you did.
One thing that, I do love about Bug is that it provides that entry point, right? That's the point where, you spend $50. There's very few places where you could spend $50 and try up to, your selection of 200 beers, right? Yeah. And so in terms of a value proposition, it's probably as good as it gets.
There's people that will drink all 200 of those beers.
Yeah, there is.
But, and providing, opportunities for people to ask questions. That's why we talked about the brewers, that, you could ask, what goes into this? Yeah. And, I think both the best and the worst thing to ever happen to craft beer was hazy IPA. Right. Yeah. And so I love hazy IPA. Do not get me wrong. It is delicious. It is one of my favorite styles of beer. And there's plenty of breweries in Illinois that do a great one. But that's what people automatically associate with craft beer now, especially ones that haven't really kind of experienced the...
It used to originally be, I hear people say IPA. That used to be the first thing that people would associate it with. Now, hazy. Now, I will just interject. I have some friends who were not beer drinkers at all. And they had a friend introduce them. I think it was forget what hazy IPA it was, or maybe it was like a tropical beer hugs from Goose Island, which is 9.9, and that being on the fruitier side. And then I happened to then show them something in that same realm of 9%, which was Voodoo Rangers Juice Force or Fruit Force. Yeah. And now the same person, he seems to be going for all the high ABV beers, but his favorite beers are now Maximus from Lagunitas, and he really likes a little something. So he started with hazies and now works his way backwards to IPAs, and now my hope is like you will be more open to trying other beers, Yeah,
and that's something that this industry is kind of wrestling with too. Is that all those beers you referenced are like 9% beers. Heck yeah. And so in terms of value, especially in SKUs on like convenience stores, those beers are now in 19.2 ounce formatted cans. They're like 10% alcohol. And so people are buying them not because they're great, just because it's going to get them drunk, right? Yeah. And so,
here's a tall can for $3. That's a 10%.
That's exactly right. And, it's unfortunate that most craft breweries are not at that scale and can't contribute, can't compete at that price point. But then it becomes a value proposition, right? It's like, hey, would I rather support a small local business and pay a couple bucks more, and by the way, go to their tap room and have like a phenomenal experience that you can put on Instagram later. Like that's that's what we're trying to build.
Well, and also then you get a chance to have a 6-pack or a 4-pack instead of just, well, I'm going to down this 19.2 ounce. Look. There's a time and a place for that 19.2 ounce can that's at 9%, okay?
Yeah.
It's not all the time.
I think one thing, I think the entire industry is kind of wrestling with this idea of how we reach younger, 21, 22, 23-year-old, drinkers, and how do we get them into breweries? Because I think the industry has not done an amazing job, bringing those folks into the fold.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I do have someone in my family, though. He's 23. He also started working at a bar, which I think helped him, discover different beers. He was always willing to try something new. He also makes a pretty good old-fashioned. Pretty good, Reese. But he turned me on to, when I went to visit him in Dubuque, I went to a brewery that he had been to a whole bunch. It was right down the street from where he worked, Dimensional Brewing. Yep. And it was really, really good. And so it was nice that he knew exactly where it was, and he already was open-minded to it. And he brought back beer from Iowa for me one time. He's like, oh, I saw this. I thought maybe try it out. I've had their beers before. So it's like, it's nice to know that there are some, younger people who are interested in it. But yeah, I can't imagine what that entails of how do breweries reach out to the kids these days?
I think an important piece is leveraging technology, right? And,
yeah.
Brandon and I geeked out over text message before this this conversation. But I think leveraging social media, leveraging AI, using marketing plans targeted towards people who are in their mid-20s is something that this industry is kind of starting to do. And I think from the taproom experience to the marketing to the brewing, there's more and more brewers that are leveraging different aspects of AI to make their beer better and make their experience better. And it's just so cool to see.
The AI aspect is interesting to me. Like, how are breweries using AI?
So
Great recipes.
Yeah, all sorts. So I did a little experiment for you guys, and so this is why I have my computer in front of me. And so I asked ChatGPT why I should go to beer under glass, and so we're gonna walk through the
this is
reasons
awesome.
why
All right.
ChatGPT thinks we should go to beer under glass.
You know what? And if I'm not convinced by ChatGPT, keep your media pass.
And so the first thing is it's a unique venue, and Union Station provides a distinct and historic setting for the festival. The next thing, they're right on the money, is variety of brewers. The festival typically features a diverse set of brands. Breweries bring local favorites and regional and national brands. Also true. A focus on craft beer. Beer Under Glass is dedicated to showcasing craft beer with an emphasis on quality, creativity, innovation. I'm going to steal that one.
You should.
Educational opportunities. The fest includes educational components such as brewer-led tastings. It doesn't. You got this wrong, ChatGPT. But there is a tasting aspect, so they might be kind of right. And so it deepens the knowledge of attendees. Sustainability and conservation focus is a piece that I didn't really think about, but the fact that it is so accessible from public transportation makes this an incredibly sustainable festival.
Absolutely.
And community engagement.
Start adding that into it too. Jeez.
It brings in beer enthusiasts, brewers, industry professionals, fostering a sense of community and camaraderie. And so, I did this as kind of a joke, but it spit back some pretty great arguments for why this is a good festival. And
I'm gonna ask ChatGPT why people should listen to them all. You know what? Don't do that. Nobody asked ChatGPT that. Don't do that. Just listen to it.
I think what we're seeing is that there's an interesting question on how AI is impacting the brewing space today. And so, I think from the customer perspective, we're seeing applications like Untapped. They're already using AI to make recommendations based on preference.
Really?
And other applications allow brewers to incorporate customer feedback into tweaking recipes. And so brewers are looking at those responses. From a brewer's perspective, new tools are coming online and they're becoming more affordable. And so, brewers are embedding AI product monitoring software to track the entire supply chain. And so these are tools that used to be only available to large producers like the Anheuser-Busch's of the world, that now small local brewers are able to leverage in their day-to-day operations because it's been publicized, for lack of a better sense. And so, thanks to AI, things like alcohol content and flavor and color and aroma and product development can be scaled much faster than ever. And, you don't have to say like, hey, let's brew and figure out what it tastes like, because there's already models out there to tell you exactly how this is going to taste. Yeah. And so, and it can also optimize menu offerings, develop pricing strategies, project inventory levels. And, I think one really thing that we touched on is that brewers who traditionally are just running a small local business and making great beer are now equipped with these tools that could do enormous amounts of social media data dives and consumer segmentation, creating preferences and tracking trends. And all of these brewers are now able to use these essentially free tools to enhance their businesses.
I can definitely see that being the tool to help bring in the younger audience.
Without a doubt. And so that's kind of the next step in this process is, and in my role as the executive director, and this beer has me sweating, so I must have high alcohol content. my role as director is, how do we equip the brewers in the state with understanding to how to leverage these tools, because they shouldn't just be for large macro breweries, right? They should be able to be leveraged by smaller organizations that, for essentially for free, could build out great beer programs.
Absolutely.
So that being said, you're talking about the beer making you sweat.
I know what it is, I think.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm almost positive.
All right, you should guess then if you know what it is.
It's Coconut Death from Revolution?
Nope.
No, it's not?
Nope.
What is it?
I was thinking Revolution.
It's every Revolution,
Yeah.
right?
Well, you're in the Revolution area.
It's not coconut?
Nope.
Uh-oh. This is the old Saison Pale Ale thing again. I really thought... Maybe I just wanted it to be coconut so bad.
Take a swig. What do you think? It's Dread and Breakfast.
Ah, so I was right with the sweetness in there. at
Yep.
least. What's in Dread and Breakfast again? Can you read that in the dark?
Breakfast blended ale with coffee aged in bourbon barrels. Extended age blend to break the fast.
Super massive cafe death is about to go
I want to see
on sale.
if it says what the ABV is in here. I don't think it does.
High. It's high.
Yeah.
It's probably between 14 and 15.
It says sweatable.
Yeah, no, for real.
Glad the three of us are splitting this one thing.
No, I like coffee beers. I struggle to find the correct time to drink them.
Yeah, you don't want to drink it like at night.
Yeah. Hey.
Sorry.
Hey,
Thanks for setting me up.
At night.
That's an afternoon beer when you don't have anything else to do.
Yeah. So thank you for entertaining my deep dive into
it's
kind of AI. I've been kind of nerding out on this over the past few weeks, and so I was happy to talk about it.
It's great. I think it's super interesting how that tool is being used and utilized for good instead of trying to take over the world. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
15.8%.
Okay, that's a little high.
Curious.
That's a little high.
Yeah. And so to kind of, if you want to talk more about craft beer week, I could do that.
Where are we on time, Brandon?
36 minutes.
That means it's time to take a quick break. Listen to the ads from our sponsors. It might be about ED. We don't know. We don't pick the ads. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here joined with Ray Stout, speaking on Illinois Craft Beer Week. Specifically, we were talking about beer under glass, but we also are going to talk about some other things that you look forward to, as you can every year for Illinois Craft Beer Week. I do want to point out, when we were talking earlier about when it starts, I thought about this on my way over here, is that last year, I think I said this to you too, Brandon, and maybe we even said this on the episode, it feels like the beginning of summer for me. Yeah. Like normally, like Memorial Day kind of becomes like, okay, that's when everybody has most people have 3-day weekends. Schools are finishing up. It's kind of like, the annual way of how summer starts. I feel like for me though, in particular, this makes me feel like, oh, okay, summer's now starting. We're doing Craft Beer Week and Beer Under Glass, and now
it's earlier, so your summer starts earlier.
My summer starts early. Great. I want to go all the way to October now. I would love that. Anyways, Brandon, before we get into the other happenings for Illinois Craft Beer Week, what are we drinking?
We are drinking Sweet Drums Volume 2 from Mikerphone Brewing.
Oh boy.
And
Shout out to Mike.
This beer is Triple Mash Imperial Stout, aged for 27 months in Pappy Van Winkle's Family Reserve 15-year Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey barrels.
This is no right being as good and as smooth as it is.
It's fantastic.
Dude, I took a sip and I'm like, how is this barely?
How long have you had this? Do you even know?
Not that long.
Yeah, it's not. I'll say it's not that old of a.
Yeah, a couple months. I've got another one.
It's wonderful.
Good to know.
And I'm going to let that sit.
Not too long.
Next year when Ray's back on.
It's probably as close to a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle I'll ever get in my life. So, this is good.
This is really, really good.
Dude,
really
I
like
miss. That's why I miss like Fountainhead. They always had Pappy there, like, and it, like one day, like when I was first dating my wife, we went out with a bunch
Bro,
of
you
people.
got married and then started dating her? That's crazy.
Yeah. So when we were out with a bunch of people
Real
in
quick,
Lincoln
thanks for
Square,
laughing,
we went over
Ray.
to Fountainhead and they had Pappy, and I was like, "You need to try this." And she's like, "I'll take a shot." And she took wasn't a shot, it was a pour.
Yeah.
And she was sipping on it, and she's like, "This is really good." And I was sipping on it a lot faster, but like, it's so fucking good.
I'm just mad that Fountainhead is no longer with us, because when I finally went was when I was getting really into home brewing and craft beer more so, and then not even really leaning on like bourbons and whiskey and stuff. So like now I feel like I would have appreciated it a lot more, and I wish.
Yeah, that was a go-to spot for me. Like getting off work, I'd go to the gym, shower, and I'd go to Fountainhead, and do that for a couple hours, and then go home.
pass out.
Oh, it just goes to show, like, how much the barrel matters. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so much flavor is imparted from those barrels.
Yeah, and this is no exception. This is so good.
And it's super smooth.
Do you know the ABV?
There's some heat on it, but
Yeah, it's not like an alcohol burn.
15.2.
Okay. And it's again not knocking Rev here. It's a bit smoother than the Dread and Breakfast.
Yeah.
But again, I'm a sucker for barrel aged beers. I've never really had like a real bad one, unless it was infected and we brewed it.
Yeah.
Anyways, great. Tell us a little bit more about what's going on for Illinois Craft Beer Week this year.
I'm still laughing because it's infected and we brewed it.
That's a true story.
And so, there's a couple other pieces. Obviously there's going to be events throughout the week hosted by breweries and retailers, as well as, a number of bottle shops and craft beer bars. But, one thing we're bringing back this year is the Summer Passport. It was widely popular last year. And so we're switching it up a little bit. And so between May 13th, or May 3rd, when it launches, and August 16th, we are encouraging folks to pick up a passport while supplies last at a local participating brewery. And all this information is in illinoisbeer.org. And so last year, we required people to visit 50 breweries to be entered into a raffle, which sounds daunting, but, we got over 300 back.
Wow.
And so, in kind of this back of the napkin math, that means it was over $200,000 put back into local craft breweries because of this program, which is so cool.
That's
I think
awesome.
I got one stamp on mine.
Yeah.
It was Old Irving. And if I could have had it stamped every time, it probably would have been 50.
I forgot to bring mine with me, and I still have it.
Dude,
I cherish it, though.
Dude, so like summertime, it's cargo short time for me. Like I was wearing it; it was always in my pocket.
Dad and
Good
her.
move.
And then like I'd pull it up, like I'd go to Old Irving, and I got it stamped the first time, and then every time I'd go back, I was like, "Oh, you already stamped it." I can't. Like, it was like always Old Irving. And
Again,
like,
Old Irving is not a
think-
sponsor. We just love them.
I think one other one I went to, and then they stamped it. So I think I had two stamps, but I was like my wife and I, like literally, my son loves Old Irving.
Yeah.
So like when we ask him if he wants to go to eat, he's like, let's go to the brewery. So we go to Old Irving. But he also loves Burning Bush. That's his like other. I think that was my second stamp because it's literally right next to his daycare.
Oh, he goes to the gate right next door. We're on the river there. That's okay. That's funny.
Yeah, and like
Funny how we ended up there. Like he chose it.
Yeah, that's right. They're both participating.
hey, like that was not his first. We've moved him around a couple times. And
I know.
Was like the brewery was not there when we first looked at that daycare. So,
I mean, the fact that Benjamin already has two favorite breweries is great.
That's you're dadding the hell out of this.
yeah. Well, he also loves Hubbard's Cave. Because we've been doing, like, we do our trips to Menards on the weekend sometimes.
Oh, I see the check-ins. I'm
And he'll be
really
like-
sad.
He'll be like, let's go eat. I'm like, you want to go to the brewery? He's like, I want a hot dog. Because he loves the hot dogs there. There we go. He gets the hot dogs. I get the fucking wings or whatever. Good place.
All right. Anyways,
And so for the people like you who only get a few stamps, we're changing the price structure a little bit.
Okay.
So, you're going to be able to be entered to win a gift card to one of 4 participating breweries at the $25, $50, 50, 75, and even 100 level.
Cool.
And so each gift card is going to be associated with the number of stamps that you
nice.
obtain. So, it's just more money back in the pockets of craft breweries, and, more encouragement for people who may not have the bandwidth to visit 50 breweries, but may have 25 breweries, and for us to kind of, see the impact of this, because, having hard data that says, like, programs like this increase tourism around the state and increase kind of visits to local craft breweries is things that we need to, continue to show the positive impact this industry is making on the state. And so, we're bringing back the pint glass, and you guys were blessed with two kind of
Thank you.
fresh models. And so, in addition to that, and you'll see if you go to illinoisbeer.org, I'm sure you'll post a picture of it.
We'll also include the link here in the description of this episode.
Well, there's going to be an opportunity to, for people who come out to breweries to buy the pint glass, and breweries are going to do it different ways. They're going to either do it a standalone, or they're going to do a beer in a glass with keep the glass. And so, this is a fundraiser for the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, but also, we wanted to make it a little fun. And so on this year's pint glass, there's a bunch of kind of kitschy landmarks throughout the entire state of Illinois, right? And so the idea with this pint glass is not only and they're all close to breweries, right? And so the idea is, as you're traveling around the state visiting breweries, you're also going to check out, the Murphmobile in Aurora, and so we're telling people that if they take a picture and tag the guild, we're going to enter to put them into another drawing.
That sounds like something I would be more keen to doing myself personally, just because that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it makes it fun for the kiddos. Like, hey, we're going to see the giant ice cream cone with eyes on it, right? Or
gives me a reason to go explore the state a little bit more.
Check out Al Capone's grave. Like, it's just.
I know where that's at, Brandon. I'll show you.
I know where it is.
It's just a way to kind of get people out and about, because, there is so much beer tourism in this state. One thing I don't think I told you guys, when we looked at the tickets for FOBAB alone, we found that over 30% of the people were coming to FOBAB from other states or other countries.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, I think we did talk about that.
And so
yeah.
people are coming here for craft beer, and they're traveling around the state for craft beer. And the more we could hold that up as an industry, the better we are positioned to, be the strong voice in Springfield and Chicago and, across the state. Advocate for our members.
Well, it's funny to bring up FOBAB because, again, another great event that, again, we're very happy to attend a little bit early so we get a little taste of things and also get out of there safely. The thing about beer in a glass that I noticed last year was that there were a handful of breweries that also were bringing like special like barrel-aged beers that either had just been canned or kegged, or Goose Island pulled out all the stops last year with, I think it was like Prop, I forget which Prop it was, the like 2022, and then the vanilla, and then rare, and it was just kind of like walking up to it, I was like, the hell? Like, you expect that from like a FOBAB type of situation. Like, you're gonna, they have the giant L car out there and everything, which is awesome, but that's where I probably made my mistake of going there and like, well, I have to have all of these because they're all here. But I remember, Brandon, you brought me over to Brothership Brewing, and I forget which beer it was. And I'll be honest, I started following them afterwards because I really didn't know much about Brothership Brewing. That was something else I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
That was a beer in a glass.
That's what I'm talking about.
That was that.
That's what I'm talking about.
That barrel-aged beer, which was
it was phenomenal. He brought me over. He was like, you got to try this, because he and I separated real quick. I think maybe I was talking to Chuck or something.
Yeah.
And because of that experience, like I had maybe seen Brothership Brewing, like if I go to Beer on the Wall or whatever, but I didn't really know of them. But trying that beer in particular, then I was like, I want to start following them on all this stuff, because that was one of my favorite beers. And I think it ended up on our list for the Maltese of our favorite beers, or at least as a runner-up or whatever, like an honorable mention, because it was such a good beer. It was so good.
That's why Bug is so cool,
yeah.
Right? Is that people don't bring the normal beer fest, I'm sure we'll get lagers, but the normal beer fest lager that people usually bring, right, is that people are still using it as a showcase for their product because they realize that this is kind of a launching pad for them. And the more I'm in this position and the more I get the opportunity to visit craft breweries, is like, take me to a place where I could only get a crowler.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I'm never going to be able to get off the shelf.
Yeah.
And so we have, over, I think, about 120 breweries now participating in Bug this year. And I would say, probably half of them are the only place to even find a can of their beer is in their tap room.
Yeah. Which is what a perfect way to discover a brewery, to be like, well, now I have a destination to go and check a place out, because I can't just go to the store and get it. And luckily I came to this event and now I know where to go.
And just on the brothership piece is that, those south suburbs are making great beer.
Yeah.
Whether it's Hailstorm or Brothership or Flipside Brewing or, there's just so many down there that are just, kicking butt, and it becomes a destination, right? Because then you're not just going for one, you're going for, I'm going to try 5 different breweries while I'm down here, right?
Yeah.
So what's for Bug and like Fobab, what's the process for getting breweries to be involved?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And so the first thing I'll say, first good question all night. The first thing I'll say is that breweries are bombarded with beer festival invites.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're trying to plan a beer fest fundraiser, please don't do it, because there's so many, and most breweries are not going to be able to make it. Right.
I learned about that a long time ago from Clint from Lake Effect. Mm-hmm. How much people are like, can you give us beer?
Yes. All the time. And brewers want to do it, right?
Yeah. You can't do all of them.
They can't do all of them, right? From a staffing perspective and from a hey, I need to make some money to keep my business afloat perspective. And so we are lucky is that, we are able to draw from our memberships. And so this is the second largest fundraiser for the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild. And so we put out an open call to breweries across the state and say, hey, are you interested in participating in Bug this year? And, by and large, half the breweries in the state every year basically say, of course we're interested in participating in Bug, to support the guild, because what they realize is, the work that we're doing, whether it's our, educational training or our advocacy work or our promotion, is important to the health and well-being of this industry. And so, they see their donations to the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild as a valuable donation.
Yeah.
And so, to your point, is that brewers are bombarded every single day. Mm-hmm. Hey, can we have free beer? Hey, can you give me beer? Hey, can you bring beer to this festival? And it's not necessarily just the beer itself, right? It's the staffing.
Yeah.
And these are small businesses, and they're making a small business decision to take, 1, 2, 3 people out of an operation that may be just 4 people big, and send them down to a beer fest.
Well, and the other thing is that a lot of beer fests happen on the weekend, and at least I know some of the people that I know, they're not necessarily at the brewery on the weekend. They're doing Monday through Friday operation stuff, and then now they're also tacking on, well, it's a Saturday morning or a Sunday afternoon, and I'm doing this, and while you're still getting your name out there, and and I certain festivals are probably a little bit more fun than others, or whatever fundraisers there are. That still is asking a lot of a brewery to do,
without a doubt. And I think that's an important piece too. Is I said this before, is that offering an opportunity for the brewers that they are enjoying themselves as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I also wanted to go back to that, but the brewers enjoying themselves. That's something we noticed at Great American Beer Fest, was that we had gone, the last time we went on Friday. We attended it on Friday. Yep. And then awards Saturday morning. And then Saturday, the big general, everybody there. Nobody we knew anymore. It's all volunteers. And it was actually less fun for me because, not that it was bad, but it just was not as interesting because I think like the first 2 places I went to, so talking about this beer, like, yeah, it's an IPA. And I'm like, you're a volunteer. I'm realizing this now. And it's not like, discrediting them, but they're there to enjoy themselves as well. And they get to pour beer and they get to be at a GABF. So that's great. But that's the time that the brewers have, other from when they first started and they first got there, maybe whatever events that they may have been a part of while there, they're finally like done. Yeah. They're done doing everything that they needed to do for the week. We've heard stories of how great it is when it starts, and as it kind of keeps going on, it becomes a long trip. It becomes a long trip.
Without a doubt, and we found that
we agree.
Food goes a long way, right? And so at Fobab this past year, we had Firewater Barbecue and just a great barbecue.
Oh, that was good.
That was really good.
owned by a co-owner of Whiskey Hill Brewing.
Oh, right.
So so it's keeping in the family a little bit, and and always at Bug we do more sandwiches from JP Graziano's than you can imagine. And
fantastic.
So if you want to keep people around, just give them a good Italian sandwich and some giardiniera.
All you need.
Right?
You're good to go. Welcome to Chicago. Yeah, I'm super excited. When I saw the date, when we saw the post, actually, I saw you post it first on Facebook before I. Oh, it's because we're friends on Facebook now. Nice flex, Tim. It's a subtle flex. Just want to say, yeah. I mean, and in real life too. But I mean, we're Facebook friends. That's official. Things are only official when it's on Facebook. That I don't even have the app anymore. I was really excited to see that it was already time for Beer Under Glass. So I'm looking forward to the event. I'm looking forward to my plan this year is to be more active in other events that happen during the week instead of just Beer Under Glass. I'll again, like Brandon, I'll end up at Old Irving at some point, and that's how I got a glass before as well. But I really like the idea of taking this new glass and then getting pictures. I'll probably end up with like a couple more glasses too, to be honest, because I kind of regret not having other glasses because I bought one and that was it. Got one from you last year, and now I've got this one, and so I'd like to go and have another one in case somebody breaks it.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, they're great. No, I love it. I like seeing them and remembering, like, oh yeah, I remember when I got this one. It was a good time. Super excited for it. It's something that like I said, I've come to associate with summer and the start of warmer weather in Chicago, we're in Illinois, where we live in a tundra. It's like Hoth for the longest time, and it's awful.
But we've been lucky. It hasn't.
Shut up,
been.
dude! Global warming. Be quiet.
It hasn't been. We've been lucky, and it hasn't extended like beer drinking season because like patios are closed and whatever. But yeah,
I saw some patios open today.
But we've also been blessed with like it being nicer now, and like some patios are already open, and
And that's to pat myself on the back a little bit. That's a piece of legislation that we worked on as the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild because
tap away.
The extension of outdoor dining was due to sunset for every business, and so we worked with the Illinois Restaurant Association to get it extended. But then they first extended it; they excluded businesses operating in manufacturing zones. Right? And so obviously breweries operate in manufacturing zones because we're providing manufacturing. Right. And so we quickly realized that excluded virtually,
everyone.
Most breweries in the state, all of Malt Row, all of those guys. And so we worked with the city and the aldermen to, pass an extension of outdoor dining or a permanent extension of outdoor dining that includes manufacturing zones. So Chicago, you are able to drink craft beer outside. You are welcome.
You guys did it. I was going to say we did it. It's a royal we.
We all did it.
Yeah.
But
both Sotros.
So here's a hard question. What about, and then during the pandemic, like breweries, specifically, I'm going to use Lake Effect for an example, were able to like door drop beers. And I know there's been a push to kind of bring that back. Like,
yeah. And that's where we get in kind of the sticky politics of beer. Right, and so
that's my favorite.
That's something that our members are incredibly interested in. There's a bill in the House right now to basically create what I would call a fourth tier, which is a delivery tier. And so these DoorDashes or these third-party deliveries entities would need to become kind of licensed unto themselves. And so our argument is that, hey, if this beer is now able to touch multiple tiers of the alcohol delivery system, then this should be no problem for breweries to do this. And that's something that the beer distributors are gravely against. And so, because unless the beer goes through their trucks, they don't want to see it happen, right? And so, we've allowed for limited self-distribution in this state. We need more self-distribution in the state. I would love to get to a place where breweries could deliver it because what you're setting up is an unfair system, right? And so you could order a burger and a drink to go from a restaurant. Mm-hmm. You can't call up Old Irving Brewing and order a burger and a beer to be delivered. Right? And so it's just an unfair competitive advantage that this third tier it has right now over craft brewers who are looks and smells like a restaurant, right?
Yeah. And operates. I think Old Irving is a good, and the Revolution over there on Milwaukee,
Without a doubt,
like
they're brutal.
both places, I think are prime examples of here is a restaurant that's also a brewery, or here's a brewery that's also a restaurant. Like those two could operate on their own without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
You could have Old Irving a restaurant on its own without having it being a brewery, and vice versa. Same thing with Revolution. And I'm not saying I'm singling that out just because they're in our neck of the woods here.
There's so many places that are on like Uber Eats that you can order like a beer and a burger, and get delivered. But I'm like, that's just some hole in the wall place. Yeah. Like, why can't the brewery do the same thing and just order the beer and like
tier system, baby?
That's the argument. The argument is that it's, the sanctity of the 3-tier system is under attack, and that is just a further degradation of this kind of holy system that we have here in the state.
It's all about money.
It's about money, it's about power, and it's about control.
Yeah.
Right? And so we are fighting like heck to allow brewers to deliver beer with their burgers because we think there's a huge calling for it. It's something that has subsided slightly post-pandemic. We're starting to see people kind of move away from that delivery space, but it's silly to exclude any small business from opportunities to thrive.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna cap this all off with this is why things like Beer Under Glass, and other fundraising things that happen during Illinois Craft Beer Week or even FOBAB are so important, because it's a chance to the money goes to you guys, a nonprofit organization that is helping keep things moving and new things happening in Illinois when it comes to all things beer, which is great.
It's I was surprised. There was 35 laws or pieces of legislation introduced to the General Assembly this session having to do with alcohol legislation that would have helped or hurt breweries in one way or another. And so, the money that goes, into BUG supports our legislative advocacy work that, ensures that these small brewers get a fair shake in Springfield and get a fair shake at, their city council chambers, because we are just a collection of small independent businesses that are just kind of scattered voices throughout the state. But when we're able to kind of speak together as one voice, it's incredibly impactful.
The other thing I want to point out is that I've never had a bad time at any of these events, and when I mean that is not just because I'm sitting around drinking. Is that the people who always go. You hear about beer snobs and people who are kind of, jerks or dicks about beers and like, oh, you should drink this and don't drink that and this sucks and this, whatever. Yeah, there's going to be people like that, but it always seems to be like the nicest people end up at all these festivals, and everyone's there for the exact same reason, is to hang out with each other, try a whole bunch of different beers, and, get home safely.
Yeah, we keep good company, and, we always have security staff and police staff on there, and, my first conversation with them as soon as we walk up is that this is usually a pretty subdued crowd, so I hope you guys can enjoy your time.
It's easy money for you guys, hopefully. We'd like to keep it that way.
Enjoy the overtime.
So, don't be that jerk who goes to this. Just show up and be fun and have a good time.
Yes.
Ray, do you got anything else you want to throw out there, man?
No, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to come here.
Yeah, we love having you here. It was cool to see you at Riot Fest last year, even though it was only for a moment. Super cool. I don't know if Brandon and I are going to do all 3 days again this year, but I really want to see Slayer. And I'm really interested to see who else is going to play. We appreciate having you on when you can, and we love to talk anything craft beer, Illinois Craft Beer Guild, anytime you're available, or just to come by and have some beers.
Love it.
That'd be great. Brandon, do you got anything else you want to say?
No, Ray, thanks for coming on. Love having you over here and drinking some random beers.
Yeah, thanks for Brandon. Good selection in beers. I like that we started with the Marz and then just went full barrel aged. It's fantastic. Yeah. I'm never mad about drinking a barrel aged beer with you, buddy.
No, and it was like I wanted to focus on beers that were going to be at the
breweries that'll
Bug.
be there. Yeah.
And so we did that.
Oh, and one more thing. Tickets are still available for Beer on Tap, April 25th. Theater on the Lake, Meals on Wheels. It's going to be fun.
Chicago Beer on Tap.
You know what I meant, everybody, because we don't stop talking about it. Brandon, I love you, buddy.
Love you too, man.
Ray, thanks again, and we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
Thank you. This has been The Malting Hour. Be sure to follow us on all social media by searching The Malting Hour and at themaltinghour.com. You can also follow us individually on social media. Brandon can be found on Instagram as BMDub81, on Twitter, BDub81, and on Untapped as BDubDrinksBeer. Tony can be found on Instagram and Untapped under Ace of Help Chicago, on Twitter, The Ace of Help Chicago. Clark can be found as Clarkowski on all three. Dan can be found on Instagram as hip__hops and hip hops on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, like, and rate the show on your preferred podcast listening platform. Until next time, cheers from all of us at The Malting Hour.
Marcus is a connoisseur of anything that's free, so he was happy to read the disclaimer on TurboTax Free Edition.
Roughly 37% of taxpayers qualify. Form 1040 and limited credits only. See how at TurboTax.com. That's me!
File your taxes 100% free with TurboTax Free Edition and get your max refund guaranteed. See if you qualify to file for free at TurboTax.com. See max refund guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.